Kevin Wells, the author of The Hermit, the priest who saved a soul, a marriage, and a family. Okay, Kevin, so set the table for us. The world was going through COVID-19, and you're watching your wife, Krista, struggle. What was going on there?
Oh man, every day waking up felt like World War I sirens going off because my wife had been sort of amputated from the medicine of what was really healing her, and that was daily adoration, sometimes as many as 2, 3 hours a day, daily mass, really intensive spiritual direction, weekly confessions, and all of a sudden, bam, the gauntlet comes down, and truly, I don't think it's too much to say I was terrified, but one priest, the priest that had been working with her, Father Martin Flum, who now is a consecrated hermit, living in a cell in a forest on a cloistered, with cloistered nuns. He'll never be seen again on this side of eternity. He essentially said, "No, I'm not going to shut down. I can't shut down for people like Krista and those that are struggling right now, that are recovering through the medicine of the sacraments." So yeah, it was during COVID 2020 that he took Krista further into the embrace of a spiritual father who was really the custodian of her soul during that time. And I praise God every day for Father Martin Flum, because I don't know where we'd be without him.
And maybe without giving too much away, Kevin, maybe you can dive a little deeper into that and talk about how Father Flum became sort of an instrument of grace for Krista.
Well, it's actually a rather hilarious story how Father Flum came into Krista's life. I met him on retreat, and I saw something radically holy about this man. He has this big Old Testament beard. He speaks with great wisdom. He has this one of these sort of like a desert monk like looks. And I invited him to the house for dinner, and a few months later he showed up, and I was about 800 miles away. I had forgotten about the invitation, so Krista opened the door, and she had been drinking. And Father Flum said, "Where's Kevin? Is Kevin here?" "No, he's not here. Who are you?" And that ended up being the next 5 minutes. Krista ended up slamming the door on the face of the one who had really maybe saved her soul. So that's how it started. I had met him on retreat and brought him into Krista's life, and that's where really it all began.
Wow.
So, Kevin, your memoir is very open, it's raw, and a lot of the things that you talk about, like Krista's struggle with alcoholism, people might not talk about with their close friends, but you did it publicly. So how did you decide to write it, and really the two of you decide that this was a story you wanted to share with the world?
Yeah, right. Good question, Victoria. What a jerk a husband to do something like this. Husbands aren't supposed to do things like this to their wife. But no, really, Krista urged me to write it in the aftermath of her recovery. She's 5 years free, and she said, "Kevin, I want you to show what a muscular priest looks like during COVID, in case this thing comes back again, like another plague or pandemic." She's essentially said, "Kevin, I don't care about my old skin. I don't care. I'm freed from that. I want to hold up Father Flum and what he did to really save me during COVID." So it was Krista that said, "Hey man, I don't care what you think, Kevin. I don't care. Just write the story of really transformation."
Any advice, Kevin, for couples that might be going through a similar situation that you could give?
Yeah, what I would encourage, so you do go through a dark night of marriage. Many people watching this today are suffering because of an addicted spouse, whether it's drugs, alcohol, pornography. What I would encourage the spouse who's really trying to pull the weight for the spouse who's suffering is, don't give up. Please don't give up. You, in a certain way, what I would encourage is to love the wounded spouse even more intensely, almost like as Christ did from the cross, where he poured himself out. So Christ had no consolations from the cross, and you know what? You don't either. But that doesn't matter, because perhaps the greatest measure of love that one can give a wounded spouse is to love with no consolations, no marital entitlements, no good stretches, no really good days or weeks. It's just to keep loving until one day God sticks his finger into it and cures your spouse from his or her affliction.
Yeah, and I think people will really connect with that story, with what you're talking about, loving their spouse more deeply, because I know there are so many people out there who are suffering in their marriages and their neighbors, family, friends might not know it. And I think this will be very comforting for them. So people can get the book at ignatius.com. But Kevin, you were telling me before the show that there is another new book that you've written.
Yeah, it's actually out this week. It's called Coached by the Cure, and I'm sure all of your viewers know who the Cure is, John Vianney. I sort of pulled him out of his tomb from Ars, France, and I had him speak to 2025 and what the patron saint of parish priests would say. And what he sees, Victoria, he doesn't like. So he begins to speak to parents, moms and dads. He says, "Hey, I'm no longer the patron saint of parish priest. I am now the patron saint of the domestic priesthood." And he begins to coach up moms and dads how to guard their children from the snares of the world.
And that book, I think you told me, was through Scepter, so a different publisher.
Yes, they can find the book at scepterpublishers.org.
Okay, and one more thing, because I heard this is one of your favorite movies, Champions of Faith, Baseball Edition. We have a copy here that we're going to give away. But tell us about this. How does this connect to the Catholic faith?
Oh man, I'm an old baseball writer, Victoria. I don't know if you know that. I used to cover the Tampa Bay Rays. So I thought when this movie came out that it was going to be a little bit hokey, and sometimes these Christian movies are. But man, this thing is good. It is essentially 15, 20 Major League Baseball players who are Catholics, and about 6 of them tell stories that are, I'll just say, profound. They almost speak like catechists. There's stories of experiencing a death of a daughter. There's fights on the mound. There's conversions. There's tears. But it's not hokey. It's very well done. It's in high definition. It's got a good soundtrack. Bob Dylan, and I'm a guy who loves baseball, and these guys come across as genuine, authentic, and truly some who love their Catholic faith and understand that it's really pulled them through dark days.
Yeah, and I am a New York Mets fan. And so did I see that Mike Piazza is in it?
Mike Piazza is. He tells a great story about getting hit in the head by a Roger Clemens fastball, and then 6 months later, Clemens throws a broken bat at him. So Piazza tells the viewer, "Hey man, here's how I got through that time, because it was strange days." And Piazza does a really great job kind of saying how God helped him.
That's awesome. That's great. So yes, we have this to give away. We will let people know in just a minute how they can win it. But Kevin, it has been great to chat with you. We hope everyone will check out your 2 books. So we have The Hermit, and then what was the second one, the new one that's coming out?
It's called Coached by the Cure.
Coached by the Cure. Okay, so we'll encourage everyone to check those out. Kevin, thank you so much.